Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
Coach Elko's my guy, right? Like, I love him. I love Michael Early. Like, I think Bucky's going to be incredible.
It's football, man. And that's what Warriors do. They don't want to sit out.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Volleyball has captured the hearts of America, and I really mean that. Like, yesterday, I was so proud to see Booger McFarland and like these national football folks, Tom Hart, so many folks talking about A&M's victory over Nebraska. People you would not expect it.
Marcus Spears,
right? Like people discussing it all over the place, all over Twitter, all over television, the drama, the cinema. And I believe this program has captured the attention of Aggies everywhere for a while. But it was, to me, I felt the difference, the change on Friday night. And I'm going to tell you why. Remember I told you I was going to go watch my sons play volleyball? Mm-hmm. And I've got the game on my phone, and I'm watching my boys play. And
soccer,
yes. And, we know the reverse sweep has to happen. I've got Zeb Hood in the back and Philip Vargas, a couple buddies of mine, asking every few seconds, what's the latest? People talking about volleyball, what's happening in the game, right? And that happens on Friday. And then on Saturday, the drama of the fourth set.
Yeah.
The greatest, seriously, I don't care what sport is your favorite. If you didn't think that was the most high drama, intense moment of you've watched in sports in a long time or ever, like that was, and A&M didn't even win that set, and it was incredible. It was like, bravo.
Yeah, the only way it could have been better. The only way it could have been better is A&M closed it out on that.
Yeah.
Because it was reminding me of the LSU 7 overtime football game.
Mm-hmm.
Except that if you didn't win, you still had that you still had that last set. And so I was at Reed Arena for basketball, and I'm in one room, but people all over the place, different groups are watching. And in the group the room I was in was a little bit ahead of the people in it that I could hear closest. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we're like, yeah, and then 5 seconds later you hear a roar, and it was just it was everything you love about sports.
Yeah,
it's all the reason why you buy in and you follow a team, and there was just so much. What do they used to say on Wide World of Sports? The human drama of athletic competition and the thrill of victory.
It was, and I don't know how many people did what I did. So during that marathon of a fourth set, I changed the way I consumed the information, because for a while it was like Nebraska would get up 26-25, then A&M would tie it, and then Nebraska would get up 27-20. So instead of watching it, I went to the TexAgs thread. I was like, maybe I can change like the way my mind works. I was like, let's change up the mojo. Maybe by watching the thread or watching what we're posting on Twitter can change the way it's happening. And how long did it last? They said it was like 48 minutes.
It seemed forever.
And to me, it reminded me of
almost as long as that 7 overtime.
That's right. Period. It was, to me, Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 all in one, because in Rocky 1 you thought he was going to maybe win,
and he doesn't.
In Rocky 2, he comes back, and it comes down to that last knockout where they both fall down and who gets up.
Yeah.
Except the difference was A&M went for the jugular in that fifth final set.
Yeah, and yet they were up. What weren't they
13-9 at one point, right?
Was that what it was?
I think it was 13-9.
And then Nebraska comes back, and you're like, oh gosh,
makes it 13-11.
The stress level is so high, and then to finally close it out and just see the way people react, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, look, and everyone I know is talking about it.
Yeah,
like that to me. When Jamie Morrison first came in this studio 3 years ago, he mentioned he wanted to take this program and just the sport of volleyball. And I think the sport of volleyball has grown. As A&M has grown, the sport of volleyball has been obviously growing beyond these parts. It's been growing, right? That's why it's on ABC. Like, people are watching national. But he said he wanted to build something like that. He wanted to build something like Nebraska had built. Who just slayed Nebraska?
Yeah, beat them on their home field. And then I saw Mike Elko's
tweet.
His whoever tweets put something like "Go in yo trap."
Yeah.
So today at the press conference, I have to be compelled to say, Coach, listen, understand. I'm so old. I'm out of touch.
Right.
So could you please explain to me what you mean by "go in yo trap"?
It's from a rap song.
Yeah, but I want to hear Elko explain.
Yeah. Anyway, let's look this first segment, and actually, Kate Naegeli is going to join us at 8:20 because she's been covering the team all season long. Looking forward to talking to her. She's going to the Final Four. Her and Callie are going to represent TexAgs in Kansas City.
Excellent.
So let's hear from Jamie Morrison as they arrive in College Station and get to Reed Arena to what was a great crowd who were celebrating. Here's Jamie Morrison on If It Hit Him Yet.
It hasn't. I was just talking to the team, and I was talking to my staff on the way here. I think it'll take me 3 weeks just because it's a quick turnaround. And again, we just got home, and we're going to have to leave on Tuesday. So we got to figure out all the logistics that go along with that and everything that goes on and how to beat the two teams that we're going to go play in the semifinal and the final to win a national championship. And that just sounds, I don't know, brings a smile on my face as it's coming out of my mouth.
His smile makes me smile.
Yeah, I've always said over and over and over that A&M should be good in everything.
Yep.
You've got too many advantages, and here's the guy that's been here, 2-3 years, and is in the Final Four, because he's taken advantage of all the resources that are here, the geographical advantages, all those things, and has built a team capable of winning a national championship.
Yeah. They might win a freaking national championship by Sunday, right? Like in a
Wouldn't
few
that be
days.
amazing?
That would be amazing.
And the football team by Sunday has already advanced to the
next round.
It
could be an amazing weekend. And here's something that I found interesting. By the way, Texas lost. I don't know if you saw that.
I heard that Wisconsin beat them.
And I can't take credit for this. This was interesting. But I saw this online. I think I saw it on Twitter. It said that A&M beat Wisconsin's rival, and Wisconsin beat A&M's rival, all on the same day.
All on the same day.
Both 3 seeds, by the way.
Did not Wisconsin eliminate Texas A&M last year? So
you could see
in
them
a great match.
It's great. You could see them in the finals this year. You might see Kentucky and A&M.
Kentucky beat A&M in a very, very
close
competitive match here.
But they got to take care of Pitt, who's also a 1 seed. I don't know much about Pitt. I'm sure Coach Morrison will fill me in.
Don't want to be like the U.S. hockey team. They beat the Russians in '80, but they still had to beat the Finns to win it all.
And they did.
So you've knocked off Nebraska.
Yeah.
Number one, they'd lost 7 sets all year.
Something like that. I have this note here. Their home win streak was 1,000+ days.
And you put it into that.
Yeah.
I think they'd only lost 7 sets. I think that's what I heard somebody say.
And they were 33-0.
33-0.
Yeah. Huh.
And you beat them.
We did.
So now you got to. But now the next game's even bigger, and the bigger one, of course, the one after that.
By the way, like we were. For them to win a national championship, they're going to have to slay more than one dragon, right? They're going to have to go through another 1 seed in Pitt and potentially Kentucky, who is a monster, or Wisconsin, right? The team that beat them last year. Kind of similar to what we might see from A&M football, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like they got it, like their Louisville matchup, let's say, and Louisville was ranked higher than A&M, at least seeding wise. They're going to have to beat Miami. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to have to beat the
Ohio
team that
State
won the national championship from last year. And by the way, if you get through all that, you might have Indiana waiting for you.
Yeah.
Before
Georgia and Indiana.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be easy. That's why
Georgia and Indiana. I think.
Yeah, Georgia. It's not supposed to be easy. It's you're living, or they've ascended into that rarefied air.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to be, and so you're there.
Yeah, you're absolutely there. Let's listen to Coach Morrison, talk about this team's resilience, because OB, that fourth set could have killed them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were so close to moving on, and we lost.
Mm-hmm.
They just went for the jugular after. They took care of business. Here's Coach Morrison on that.
It was the same level of grit that we've shown all season, and it was comebacks in sets. It was comebacks in matches. We were down 0-2 against a really good Louisville team and came back and won that, and then we were up 2-0. And that first set, we were down to 9-3, 10-3 or something like that, and took a timeout, and we hadn't, had it in us to come back 1 point at a time and win that set. And I just think it's who our team has been the entire season. And I told them at the beginning of this NCAA tournament, this is about who's good at volleyball. But as you get further and further, it's about who can handle the moments of being under tension for the longest.
Handle tension, being under stress, under tension for the longest. Who can handle that?
You know what? I thought Nebraska showed that ability. Like you just said, it was. You compared it to Rocky II. They're both throwing haymakers.
Yeah.
Both. It's just a matter of who got up first, and it was A&M.
A&M, and they looked like the better team.
I think so. But it's just a team like Nebraska, ranked number 1, and I don't know, not acting like I know volleyball, but I do know athletics.
And you know what winning looks like.
Right, and great teams, what they do and the way they respond, and Nebraska responded. It's just that A&M was better.
Yeah, no doubt about that. This is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan.
He's David Nuño.
And today is Monday, December 15th, 2025. We are not hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone, but it's right there. It travels.
The Cool Zone travels.
Yeah.
It could travel to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
It can travel to Kansas City.
Yeah.
It can travel wherever you have to go.
Wherever you got to go, it'll travel. And as our intro says, it's here. Game week is here, OB.
Game week is here. Yeah.
Miami and Texas A&M, Kyle Field on
What
Saturday.
a lot, so much excitement for this weekend.
Yeah.
We got football, you got volleyball, all kinds of things going to be going on.
All kinds of great stuff going. Let's go around the room. By the way, if you want to be a part of the conversation, you want to text us something, we'll read it. We'll talk about it. You want to call the show, we'll talk about it. You want to react to volleyball, those diehard volleyball fans. By the way, can I do a programming update?
Go ahead.
Probably shouldn't go here, but I'm going to go here. I really love that folks wanted to watch, every second of that match. And when it's breaking news like that, just turn off your alerts if you don't want to know what happened.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're in a news business. And if you work at ESPN, if you worked at ABC 13, which I have, if you've worked at all these news organizations, when there is breaking news,
you're going to put it out because you're
going to put it out, and there's going to be alerts on it on your app. So if you don't want to hear stuff, the game on Saturday, if you don't want to know that A&M won because you want to watch it with your family later, just simply turn off the alerts.
It's on you to turn on.
This is not like watching Netflix, and you can't. There's no spoiler alerts. No, with breaking news, there's spoilers. So I just wanted to make sure that we said that because I want everybody to be able to enjoy it the way they want to enjoy it, but we still have a business that we have to attend to.
Absolutely.
So let's go around the room. Say hi. Left to right. Behind the glass is panicking Cade Bickham. He's panicking, turning on the mic.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I smacked the mic.
Your hand was going? Yeah.
Yeah, real bad. That volleyball match was absolutely awesome. The fourth set was that was some of the craziest that was one of the craziest sporting event moments in just seeing that whole fourth set play out because the final score was 37-35. I mean, it was absolutely insane. I think Nebraska had 10 plus set points. A&M had 4 or 5 match points in that set. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was such a high level.
High level. I mean, if you love competition, right? You ever watch some kids play, one-on-one basketball in the backyard, and it's not very good basketball, but it's very highly competitive. You kind of get into it. This is the best of the best at their profession, and I'm talking about coaches. The Nebraska coach, obviously very decorated. I actually liked some of her comments post-game. She gave A&M some props. They apparently were dealing with some stuff. Who wasn't, right? A&M had to use all of their players to win. The tactics were in the first set. Nebraska gets up. Jamie calls a timeout, sets everything up for the rest of that run, and obviously takes that first set.
It was amazing. Look, I wasn't covering it, so I'm not keeping notes. so I can't tell you exactly when, but I do remember there was this one, I guess, rally, and it seemed like both teams were just setting up for the spike, and then somebody would what do they call it, dig it out, and it was just, and it went on and on and on and on, and then finally I think A&M won the point. But that one point was exhausting to watch. Imagine what it was like to actually play in that.
Yeah. I wonder how, I'd be interested to hear what Trev was thinking yesterday, right? Because Trev obviously was the AD at Nebraska, and he helped set up the 100,000 folks that watched the volleyball match inside of the stadium. And, he supports volleyball. So he kind of helped build that. He was a part of that. And he's been here watching Jamie do his thing. And it probably was a surreal moment for him.
Oh, I'm sure it was highly exciting. It's well, first of all, he's thrilled that A&M won, and he's probably thrilled that he beat Nebraska too, but not in a
mean way. Yeah,
way.
Yeah. Like, hey, that's what competition's about.
It's in his mind. He knows probably as well, better than anybody, what Nebraska volleyball is, and he's watching his team beat them
right
on their home court. So I'm sure it means even more to him. So yeah, I'm sure he's beside himself.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. We're going to keep going volleyball. The great Kay Naegeli. Yeah. You should dig.
Spike.
You're a digger.
I've been known to dig.
Yeah. We'll bring Kay Naegeli on next segment. We'll break it down. We'll be touching base with her all week long here on TexAgs Live. Tomorrow, Coach Morrison will be on the show. We're working on some national volleyball guests as well this week, so it should be a lot of volleyball content for those who need it.
It absolutely should be.
We did. I found out
they deserve it.
6 pieces of content for volleyball yesterday, which rivals football, and in fact, sometimes more than a football game for us. So, great job by the team in the back that gets it all done. Richard, Kay, Callie, everybody, Kaylee, the whole crew. Kate Bickham obviously involved as well. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Kay Naegeli. Right now, where do winners go eat? Ob.
Well, I know this. If it wasn't, if today was Thursday, that whole volleyball team, they should just pack them up and head them down a couple miles past the airport to 1775. Because you're talking about earning that brisket, earning that jalapeno cheese sausage, earning the pork ribs. And you know what they really earned?
Well, what else did they earn? The queso mac and cheese?
They earned the queso mac and cheese. The queso mac and cheese, that's the Final Four right there.
That is the Final Four, yeah.
Yeah. So they earned that Final Four.
Yeah, and in fact, for the Nebraska team that's sad, well, why not?
They got cream corn.
We could ship it to them, though, to make them feel a little better.
Oh, it'd make them feel a lot better. In fact, they'd probably think, if this is what we get for losing, imagine what you'd get for winning. They'd probably, we need to lose a few more games if we can get that brisket, that Final Four.
979-492-6241. Say hi to Brad and Brandon for me, or visit them online. 1775txbbq.com.
It's good.
Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. And we're back. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Still talking some volleyball. Kay Naegeli, our ace reporter, who's been covering the team all season long. I saw you walk in with a little pep in your step today.
Like, again, with winning, your coffee's a little bit warmer, the traffic's a little bit clearer. It just seems like we've had a lot of it recently. It's been fun.
It has been fun. So just take me through yesterday, because you know this team better than anyone. Like, how surprised were you, maybe?
Yeah. So just upon doing research coming into the game, you just look at the sheer amount of records that they had going. Were won every single home match for the last 1,000 days.
This 2002, is it right?
Yes, or it's 2022. So in the last 3 years.
Sorry, 2022.
In the last 3 years, had won every single home match. Had a 48-set streak of victories, and just there was just so much against them, so much stacked against them. You looked at some of the weapons they had. Their middle had the highest hitting efficiency in the entire country. Also was going towards a single season record at Nebraska, which is also crazy, and they shut her down yesterday. Like, you just look at the sheer amount of records and things that they had to battle through. It was just so impressive on so many fronts.
How did they close it out? I'm watching the game and I'm seeing them, and celebrating with everybody else. And then I thought, couldn't even tell you how it ended.
Yeah, I feel like that fourth set was so crazy that all of it just kind of blends together a little bit, and I think the main thing that I really thought is in volleyball, when you're going through rallies like that and you get to 39, 37, you're exhausted. Like, you have drained literally everything. They wanted to close it out in the fourth and they just couldn't. And so I think you kind of have to look at yourself in the fifth set and be like, are we going to do this or not? Because we literally have to leave everything.
So do we know who had the match point?
It was Logan Lednicki. Of course. Yeah. She had the match taking kill.
Like I said, I'm watching it, and then I just reacted, and then I wasn't even paying. Because I was looking, I was watching like on a phone.
Yeah.
So I could see that they had won it, but I'm like, and I didn't even care at the time.
Right. Well,
what an exciting! As you've seen a lot of exciting moments. I know you're young, but off the top of your head, where's this going to rank for you?
That's a big one. That is a big one. Just for, especially in the program of volleyball, this is...
No, I'm talking about athletics overall.
Athletics. I mean, I have been blessed to see some great moments in Aggie so far. But here's my counter, is I don't think they're done. I think more great moments are coming.
Well, let's hope.
And this team just has so much. With the 9 seniors, they are so motivated to get it done. Every single one you talk to is just... They want to do it. They have the talent to do it. And I think yesterday they for sure showed the heart. They have to do it. So.
Well, and shouldn't be lost on us what happened on Friday, right?
Yeah,
the reverse sweep. Maybe it happens often. I don't know. But it feels like a pretty insurmountable thing in the NCAA tournament against a team as highly touted as Louisville.
Yeah, they were also a great team coming off a national championship run. I mean, they were in the title game last year, and they had a lot of returning players on that team, and ultimately A&M just wanted it more. Like, you look when they were down those first 2 sets, if at that exact moment, if I would have told you, hey, doesn't matter, they're going to a Final Four, you would have been like, you're absolutely crazy.
Right.
Like, we're down 2 sets against Louisville right now. Like, there's absolutely no way. But again, this team doesn't care about stats. They don't care about records. They don't care about anything like that. They just want to go change the program, and I think it's a product of Jamie Morrison, of course.
How do you think he's built this so fast?
You talk to him and you believe what he's saying, right? There were 3 seniors on the 2022 roster, or 3 starters on this 22 roster that were here previous to him: Logan, Afena, and Ava Underwood. They were on a 13 and 16 team that year. They were at the bottom of the SEC, didn't have a lot of success. Jamie Morrison came in and completely bought them over, and they trusted in what he did, and he's had so much success on a USA volleyball level. You look at half of that Nebraska roster, he coached all of them at USA Volleyball. And they all learned from him. And their middle, Andy Jackson, even said one moment that sticks out to her is are you a middle or are you a volleyball player? He said that to her when she didn't go for a ball or something. So I just think he has this lasting impact, and you want to absolutely play your very best for him. He's just been phenomenal so far. So.
Can we talk about Kendall? Because For those who don't know her story, kind of remind us of her story and how impactful she was yesterday.
Yeah, so at Baylor 2 years ago, she played in like 12 matches, I think. Just had one too many concussions, and basically Baylor administrators said, "You're done." They kind of pulled the plug and said, "We're not going to let you play anymore. It's a health issue." I think she got like another concussion in practice before that 13th match, and they were basically like, "Sorry, no." And she didn't really know about it. They basically made the decision without coming to her at all. And so ultimately she was like, "Okay, well, if I'm not," I think she finished out the semester there just doing school and whatnot. And she took a year off. She didn't play volleyball. I'm sure she was still in the gym, and that family is obviously very, very gifted. And so she was still in the gym, but she was in the portal, and she said she had a lot of time to look at her options and where she wanted to go, because she was very highly recruited once she did get cleared. She went to multiple doctors and was ultimately said, "Okay, yep, you're good to play." A&M for sure made sure things were all good there, and she had a lot of time to look around and found herself at A&M, and she's just been nothing but outstanding this year. Led the team in kills last night, and ultimately, you think about the run that they had last year. They had a lot of these pieces. One piece they did not have is Kendall Stowers, and ultimately, like, she was the difference maker last night.
Yeah.
I wish I had, I got nothing, because I'm just.
Well, I got some for you.
I'm amazed that, though I have to admit that the whole idea of the volleyball team going to the Final Four was not even something that I was thinking. I mean, I knew they were good. Didn't know they were this good. How much do you know about the teams that are going to be playing in Kansas City?
Yeah, so Pitt's up first. They have one. So it's really interesting when you look at it. Pitt, when you look at their stats, there's one girl that really jumps out, Olivia Babcock, and she is absolutely ridiculous. She's averaging, I think, 5 kills per set. When you look below that, there's not a whole ton of production. They have a couple of other girls that are consistently in there, but they really do run through her. And I think it's interesting because you saw A&M shut down one of the literal best hitter in the country, and Andy Jackson yesterday, and she hit like 45%, and she'd been hitting 486 clip all year. Shut her down. And that was someone that Morrison knew from the USA level, so probably knew her tendencies a little bit, and just completely, she was not effective at all. So I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup to see how they scout her. She's been insane. I think this is Pitt's 5th straight Final Four appearance, so they're a national powerhouse.
Perennial power.
They are used to being in this position. Jamie Morrison's Aggies aren't, but I don't think it matters. I think they're still going to go out and give them everything they have, and if they find success in shutting down her, I think they will be very successful.
And then Kentucky or Wisconsin. They're familiar with both because they played Wisconsin last year, eliminated them. Well, I remember. All right, see, so
I watched that. I remember.
Right, I was at my wife's company Christmas party. The game was on, and that's the first time I'd really got engrossed in the game. And then I know that they played Kentucky here earlier this year. It was a very competitive game, but Kentucky won.
Yeah,
right?
It was. Yeah, it's really interesting when you look at this group of Final Four, because you have 2 SEC teams. Obviously, Kentucky's been so dominant all year. Took the regular season and tournament SEC crown, and they've been really successful and had success at Reed. And that was a game that Morrison and the Aggs wanted back for sure. When you look at Wisconsin, that's a team who ended A&M's season last year in Nebraska. Went to a 5-setter. And those seniors were highly motivated by that game and on that floor, and I think a little bit of that led to having so much success in Bob Devaney last night. So this group is going to be really competitive. It's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I was so pissed because I'm watching that game and I didn't know the rules, so I didn't know that the 5th set only goes to 15 points. Yeah. So I was like yelling at the TV, like, "What? We're getting screwed!" And so that it only goes to 15. So.
Hey, Kayla, last thing for you. Yesterday, to me, was an example of a pure team effort, a complete team effort, right? Yeah. Everybody was involved.
Yeah, I wrote about that a little bit because it's interesting when you look, and we talk a lot about firepower and attack. Afena at the kill wise, not her best performance she's had. She was fine blocking, but then you had someone like Morgan Perkins step up, who's just been kind of a role player all year. She led the team in blocks last night. Ava Underwood was feeling under the weather in that Louisville match. And Tatum Thomas, you saw her emerge a little bit at the libero position. And then yesterday, she had a great game. She had a dig kill, which is one of the most rare things you see in the sport of volleyball. And I think just they're so consistent. Maddie Wack, like, just absolutely battled yesterday. She had 60-plus assists, career high. That's crazy. Like, just the sheer amount of athleticism. And I can't go without talking about Logan Lednicki, obviously. She's just been so unbelievable for this team all year, and I think they just want it so bad. So, yeah, every single player on the floor yesterday impacted the game. I think 4 freshmen got in as well. So, yeah, it's just whether they were on the bench, whether they were producing for the Aggies, I really think an all-around team effort is what made the difference.
Okay, great work.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Let's hit a break. When we come back, OB, a little football time?
No, never a bad time to talk about football.
Hey, what are you wearing?
Duck camp. What is this called? A quarter zip or something like that?
It's like a quarter zip, yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. And
I just call it a nice shirt.
I could see the little zipper. I know it's more for fishing, but the little zipper right there, yeah, I could see you.
Lures in it or something.
Or I don't know,
some money or maybe some pins,
a weapon, maybe
some pins. A weapon. I don't know.
Maybe pins. I could see you pins. Yeah. You're always writing stuff anyway.
I could take. I have in my wallet over there. Yeah, I think.
That's really thick. That's a very thick wallet.
So I could take
or you could just get
some pins. Yeah.
You could do it like. But really, this is not selling Duck Camp the way we probably should. Duck Camp is very comfortable. It's very stylish, and if it makes OB look good,
handy. It can make anybody look good. If it can make me look good.
No, you look good anyway, OB. But it's a good look on you, sir.
I like it.
Duck Camp, built for the outdoors, designed for everything else. Hey friends, David Nuño here for Prize Picks. They're back on TexAgs, prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. And Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Football season's here, basketball coming up, baseball, you name it. You go to prizepicks.com/TexAgs and start having some fun watching sports, making some money on there. And you can play Prize Picks in over 40 states, including California and Texas. Remember, they'll give you $50 in lineups once you play $5 lineups on Prize Picks. And they have the new thing. It's called It's Good to Be Right campaign, and they're kicking off the upcoming NFL season with their bold new campaign, It's Good to Be Right. The seasonal long push celebrates the thrills of getting it right, from the perfect prediction to winning your Prize Picks lineups. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. What do you think of the Heisman, Obi?
It went the way I thought it would. I voted for Fernando Mendoza.
Yep.
I thought his performance against Ohio State
solidified it for you.
I thought he deserved it after that. And then I'll say this: I had Diego Pavia second. After his reaction, I am glad I didn't vote for him.
I agree with you.
I think he needs a PR guy or something because his whole image changed. I think.
Yeah.
And then the third place guy. I know you didn't ask, but you get to vote for three, and I put Haynes King because I know if you're third, it doesn't really matter. But I'm just so impressed with the guy.
Yeah.
All year long. I know. And I love this. I know a lot of guys in their first three were Mendoza, Pavia, and then Jacob Rodriguez. They're calling, I voted for the three amigos.
Yeah, that's great. As for what you said about Pavia, I really like Pavia, but I think sometimes fame has this weird thing it does to certain people that they just think that they are allowed. We're in this social media world where it's okay to be classless. And I think he handled that without any class. And when it's your guy, you see things through a different lens. Like, I think Johnny was classy at his Heisman. He won, so.
He had a really nice speech.
Right, he had a great speech. And maybe if Pavia would have won, I'm
sure it would have been a lot different.
Right, but he lost, right? And he said, and he had a really nice apology yesterday. But my problem with the apology, not the apology, my problem is that he said, I'm just so competitive. This is not a competition that you can try hard and win. It's other people's opinions, right? So to say the four-letter word to the Heisman voters, and you had him second.
Yeah.
It might have had him first if it wasn't for the way Fernando closed it out.
Right. I probably would have had him first, except, look, we're told all year how great the Ohio State defense is. And statistically it is, so it is, and all those things. And he made some real clutch plays. And I've always said it. You win the Heisman by playing big in the big games.
Yep.
And he played big in the biggest games.
Now, if Pavia were our guy, would we be handling it the same way? I think so. I think I would have. I would. There were times I was embarrassed by Johnny. And there's things about Johnny that I absolutely love. Obviously, his play, I think his charisma, and I'm comparing those two because that's the ones that people like, this bigger-than-life thing. I don't think Johnny, his Heisman campaign year, was bigger than life. I think the bigger than life, at least that we saw.
Well here's what we said. Johnny's Heisman year, of course, the big stories were, well, he's in the Scooby-Doo costume on Northgate, and he's got these scantily clad girls dancing with him and things like that. And my answer to that was, well, did he dress them?
Right.
I mean, he went out with a Scooby-Doo he's in college. He's not supposed to go out. And then there was like, well, he parties like, yeah, but he's playing well. But we didn't even hear from Johnny all year until, really late because someone had that rule where freshmen didn't talk. And then, like, when it was getting close to the Heisman, they relaxed that rule for obvious reasons. And Johnny afforded himself really well. So Johnny, and then he won. So there was never this moment that he can embarrass himself by with a comment. And Johnny had all of his issues, but I have to believe that had Colin Klein won it, Johnny and someone asked him about it, Johnny might have said something along the lines of, I'm disappointed, but Colin was a great player and he deserves it, and be classy about it.
Right.
Because Johnny typically, if you'll think about it, Johnny typically said the right things. Rarely did Johnny say things that got him in trouble.
Right.
Johnny, it was the things he did that got him in trouble. The things he said, sometimes he said things and didn't follow up with it. But I was disappointed in Diego Pavia.
Yeah, look, I'm at a different point in my life, right? I'm a father. I want these celebrities, college celebrities, professional athletes to act a certain way. I do.
And he's 24.
Right.
So he's not a kid.
And I can understand being disappointed or not. Put it this way. If Christian or Cruz behaved that way,
right.
Well, first off, they wouldn't.
But if they did,
there would be an immediate conversation with dad and them, all right? Immediate, the moment of, and the apology would be like, I was a fool, I'm sorry, there's no excuse, The end. There's not this like, I'm just a competitor, and here's 5 more paragraphs about this, and like, it was a, yeah, he's a kid, he made a mistake, he'll grow from it, for sure, I get it. I was embarrassed for him, and I thought it was a terrible look.
Well, again, he's 24. You should know better. So I'm glad I didn't vote for him now.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I voted for Fernando. I thought he was very humble and very just pensive and everything in his speech. I think he deserved it. And look, I'll say this: I don't feel bad that I put Diego second, because he probably deserved to be second. But I'm glad I didn't vote for him first, if that's the way he feels about things.
I don't know how I would have voted. I really don't know, because I didn't think about it after the Fernando Mendoza Big Ten championship game. I thought about it leading up to it, and I think you and I were having a conversation. I go, I think I'd vote for Pavia right now. And that's how I felt at that time. I didn't revisit that conversation in my head because I didn't have to vote.
Right.
After. I probably would have leaned Fernando after that performance, because, again, when you think about what Vanderbilt's been able to do, amazing story.
Amazing.
What Indiana's been able to do, more amazing.
Well, I think this was a year that if you voted before the championship games, you shouldn't be allowed to vote anymore, because it was all that. It was all that.
Yep.
That close. And but and obviously, I didn't see what the actual voting was, but I'm assuming probably Mendoza won by a pretty comfortable margin, and it was based on that last game, I'm sure.
Yep. So
let's see what he does moving forward. I think it's nice that it's a guy from a different place than usual. Of course, had it been Diego, it would have been somebody different as usual, but than usual. But I do like seeing a historical guy, right? First time in Indiana history. So I think that makes it even better.
Yeah. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with a final segment here in the Go Hour. Right now, we're talking about our friends at the Association of Former Students. If you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggie Land, or you already live in Aggie Land and looking for a great opportunity to work at a great company, look at the Association of Former Students that's looking to hire professionals to join their team. And sometimes the openings are in many different types of departments: fundraising, sales. You've got communications, marketing, you name it. They got a lot of different options for you. And they want to play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to Here. In fact, they do all of that. Don't miss opportunities to help out the association with awesome events like Howdy Socials, Aggie Reading Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. If you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone who would be a great fit, please visit tx.aj/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. Everyone, David Nuño here for Allen Honda. Had a great conversation with them earlier today. John Allen's the owner. He's been here forever. And also their GM, Rusty Skinner, great guy. Wonderful conversation. They're super local. They're a family-owned dealership, not some massive auto group. And they treat their customers like family because they basically are family. They're Aggie alums. They love Aggie sports, and they've been serving the Brazos Valley with integrity, with passion, and commitment to excellence for over 50 years, which is very rare, by the way, for the independents, because people trust them. And that's why they've been doing it for such a long time. Whether you're looking to buy, lease, or service your vehicle, you can count on them for transparent, no-pressure experience that puts your needs first. And I can attest to it. Had a great conversation about my own situation with them. Their knowledgeable sales team will help you find the perfect Honda to fit your lifestyle, from fuel-efficient sedans to versatile SUVs. Leasing options are flexible and affordable, making it easy to drive the latest models with confidence. And when it comes to service, their certified technicians only use genuine Honda parts to keep your vehicle running at its best, whether it's routine maintenance, for major repairs, or whatever it may be. And we know that trust isn't given, it is earned, and that's why generations of local drivers right here in the Brazos Valley and Bryan College Station keep coming back to Allen Honda. As part of the community with Aggie spirit in their hearts, they are here to make everyone's visit wonderful. So visit their showroom or their service lane and find friendly, efficient, and memorable situations when you go to Allen Honda. Come see why so many College Station and Bryan drivers choose Allen Honda for their automotive needs, and remember, gig 'em. Final segment of the Go Hour. Got a lot more radio to go here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Obi, who do you think, okay, not Heisman, who was the best, and it could be Heisman, but who was the best college football player this year?
Wow.
It could be, I mean, that could be the same thing as Heisman, but I don't know if that, if you're saying like this is the best football player.
I know what you mean. Because one year, Kamagang Su.
Right.
Right.
Is it Jeremiah Smith?
You know, he might be the best player without having the best year. You know, like he'll be gosh, you know. See, it's so hard to, but because you think, well, what about does the caliber of competition make you look better than you are?
I think that plays a role.
Like the kid from Texas Tech, Rodriguez. He might have been.
He might have been. Yeah, we're about to find out.
And give me more time to think about it. I might come up with somebody who's.
Is Jeremiah Love one of the 5 best players in the country?
Definitely one of the 5 best pro prospects. Right.
Yeah, and I think that's a different conversation, right?
Right.
Pro prospects. By the way, I should probably.
You know, the best player. I mean, I don't know the best player in the country might be a badass offensive lineman.
Yeah.
You know, if you went back to the year Johnny Manziel was drafted, and all those guys were redrafted, I'm not sure. I'm not saying this for a fact. When Shireen was on to back me up on this, I'm not sure the Dallas Cowboys would have had the best player taken in that draft, which was Zach Martin, a guard. But it's a guard,
right.
But he's going to be a Hall of Fame guard. If you think the Jacksonville Jaguars, if they could go back and say Blake Bortles or Zach Martin.
Well, you know what? Look, I don't know if he's the best player in the country. I don't know. I can't. But Casey Concepcion is one of my favorite players in the country, man.
He is as dynamic as anybody in the country.
Yeah.
And again, he's all SEC at 3 positions. How crazy is that?
And like to know the guy, like it adds to that. You know, like funny, classy young man. His teammates love him. Plays with like, he plays football the way I want my football players to play.
And you know what I heard, and you heard this too, that makes you, and a lot of fans may not know this, makes you, so understand that Ashton Bethel Roman was kind of frustrated with the situation early in the year. It's, you know, you come in and you're not getting the ball, and supposedly it was KC saying, dude, just stay with it. You're going to be all right. You know, encouraging, being a team leader when you don't have to be, especially when you're a transfer portal go. Hey, I just came here to, you know, play football, get my money, and do. No, man, he took a leadership role, not just as a player, but you know, as a leader. So yeah, I can't say enough nice things about KC Concepcion.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We haven't checked in there. Caden Schwartner's there. Caden, I know some text messages have been coming in.
Good morning.
Good morning, buddy.
Yeah, Trey had an interesting text. He said, we don't know how this will end, but the run volleyball is on this year feels very much like the run Gary Blair went on in 2011.
You cover that, right?
Yeah, no, I was living in Nashville.
Okay.
But I remember watching them.
Yeah.
I remember when they beat Baylor for the third time they played, and then they beat Baylor and then went on to beat Notre Dame.
That's a good text there. Look at one more.
I actually was looking at something that was, you guys were talking about best players in the country, and I looked at Jeremiah Smith, and still in what felt like a down year, you didn't hear his name as much. He still finished with over 1,000 yards receiving.
Yeah.
80 catches, 11 touchdowns, 13.6 yards per catch.
Oh, yeah, he may be the first player taken in the draft when he comes out.
Yeah. And by the way, you look at some of the transfer A&M has added. I saw a list of both KC and Cassius could be, you know, first-round picks and top 10 NFL prospects from the SEC. So that tells you a lot.
Yeah. That gives me a lot of hope for the future. And they've done so well at identifying guys they're going to bring in.
Thank you, Obi.
Yep.
We'll hit a break. We will talk with Connor O'Gara Saturday Down South next on TexAgs Live.
What's up, everybody? I'm here to tell you about Fratella Italian Cafe. If anyone knows anything about Italian food, it's me, Billy Liucci. And Fratelli has the best Italian food in BCS. Located at 3901 South Texas Avenue, Fratelli is known for their handmade pasta dishes and feature lasagna, beef cannelloni, chicken parmesan, chicken fettuccine alfredo, a couple of my favorites, just a big old bowl of plain old spaghetti and some manicotti. Really recommend the manicotti. That's my go-to. And don't walk out of there without trying the fresh, piping hot breadsticks and the homemade in-house cheesecake, which is incredible. It's great for dining in, catering, gift cards, and even shipping, which they do nationwide. Fratelli's is Aggie-owned and operated, and it's an official restaurant partner of Texas A&M Athletics. I'll see you there.
We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's catch up with my buddy, Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South here on the program. He's a good friend of the show. What's up, Con?
How we doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
We're hanging in there. I'm glad that playoff week hits so much quicker now. And look, I understand that there are people that don't like the expanded playoff. I'm not one of those people that was saying we absolutely need to go from 4 to 12. But I will say, when I see on the calendar, it's not even to Christmas yet, and we've already got games that are going to impact the national championship. I'm here for it, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir with that.
Yeah, I love it, man. One of the things I love about having you is, and I've told you this before, I've told you privately and on the show, you sometimes think of things from an A&M perspective that I don't think comes from a bias at all, just that sometimes I don't think about. So, A&M. We know it's Miami. I think that is a tough matchup. You get them at Kyle Field. That should absolutely help. What do you think about A&M at the 7th seed taking on Miami, considering where they were most of the year?
I'm worried about this matchup for A&M. I am. And I thought that A&M should have been on that 6 line instead of Ole Miss. I thought it was too reactionary of a take after the Texas loss. And I said, if there was somebody going into that conference championship weekend who really got a tough draw, everybody's talking about like the Notre Dame, Alabama thing, and what does BYU have to do, and how's this going to impact Miami potentially? I was looking at A&M going, I think there's a huge difference between 6 and 7, and I think there's a difference because we saw last year with Ohio State a team that was 10-2. that, just kind of felt like it was playing at house money in the college football playoff. And I wonder if Miami is going to embrace some of that. And I think some of the strengths that they have with the way that they can lean on that ground game, if Fletcher is back healthy, and the things that they can do in that area would give me pause against an A&M team that's had 4 games this year where it's allowed at least 200 rushing yards. And that's been an Achilles heel down the stretch. We saw that in the Texas game wherein Texas finally got a 100-yard rusher for the first time all year. So I think it's a brutal matchup, and I'm kind of going back and forth with it. And I do think that A&M has every right to be favored, in front of 108,000 fans. But I'm really concerned about the things that Miami can do well and how they could potentially hurt A&M if they haven't necessarily corrected some of these issues that plague them down the stretch.
I don't disagree, but I also look at it from a different perspective. Was when they put A&M in the 7 seed the week prior after the loss to Texas, I didn't think they're going to move up. As much as I disagreed with it, so this is your matchup. And then I'm thinking to myself, all right, what is a favorable matchup? Well, there isn't at the 7 seed, especially knowing what happens afterwards. But I thought to myself, Miami was probably a better matchup than Notre Dame, a team that you already beat. And I know that might sound weird, but I was like, beating a team like Notre Dame twice seems a lot harder than beating Miami. I thought Alabama would have been the better matchup for A&M, but again, it's Alabama, so I feel weird saying it out loud like that. So, and then I'm like, all right, if you get Ohio State, I'm not saying they will, if you get Ohio State, it sucks because I think it sucks for Ohio State too to take on a team that could have been a top 4 seed in Texas in the second round.
And reality is, it's college football playoff. Eventually, you're going to have to face a team like that. So even if, let's say, A&M had gotten the 6 seed and gotten maybe Tulane a favorable matchup in that first round, all right, in the quarterfinal, you're still going to have to beat a team like that. So it's kind of delaying the inevitable at a certain extent. I understand there were cases like last year with Penn State where I thought Penn State got just such an extremely favorable draw to have SMU in the first round, and then to be able to have Boise State was the team coming off a bye, like at that neutral site, playing a Mountain West team in the quarterfinal. Like that's really ideal. So yeah, I do think that A&M was eventually going to have to play a team like Miami. And if there's something that you can hang your hat on, for those who have criticized the A&M conference schedule, which broke very favorably, Miami is still trying to do something that the ACC has not been able to do during the 2020s decade. That is win a single New Year's Six bowl or a playoff game. They haven't done that since 2019. The entire ACC, and in a year in which Miami couldn't get to a conference title game in the league that crowned a 5-loss Duke team as its champ, there should at least be some sort of hope that, all right, this team, while talented, is not invincible.
Connor, I want to go back to some of that. So first off, to me, I look at who Miami's beaten in the second half of the season. I'm like, they haven't played a good defense yet. So there's that. And that doesn't mean that they can't show up and beat A&M. I'm not saying that, but like people poke holes on the A&M resume, and I'm like, guys, look, I'm an SEC apologist, and I'll say that out loud. But I don't think losing or beating Auburn is as bad as people make it look when you beat teams in the Big 12 or some of the teams in the Big 10 that I don't think were as good as the bottom half of the SEC. I feel like sometimes the schedule is what the schedule is, but let's go deeper than that.
They're living in some ways, Miami and A&M, in kind of parallel universes where early season win against Notre Dame, that's the best thing on their resume. And A&M obviously did that in South Bend, and Miami did that in a home game. So it's a different story. But you're right in that you could look at the way that the schedule played out and go, well, it's just kind of they beat up on some favorable competition to be able to get to this point. You've still seen what this team can do in a given day. And, Miami kind of had to win games in some different ways this year. There are games like that opener where people are saying, wow, Carson Beck, he wasn't the problem at Georgia last year. Look at all these things that they can do. Look at the plays that their receivers are making. Malachi Toney, man, like he's going to be a nightmare. And I still think Malachi Toney is going to be the most difficult thing for the A&M defense to be able to slow down. But, they had to win games in a variety of ways. And it's the same thing that I really praised A&M for during the regular season was that, you're going to need to be able to play different styles. I know you're big into the fight game. Styles make fights, right? A&M is going to be in a fight in this one. They could have to do some different things to kind of slow down that really loaded Miami defensive line with Ruben Bain. And what are they going to be able to do if their possessions are limited? So I just think that it's going to be an interesting chess match with two coaches that I think have seen their teams have to show a lot of different faces over the course of this year.
regardless of the schedule, what Elko's been able to do in 2 years at A&M to me is remarkable, because there was a time they weren't winning that Auburn game. There was a time that they had all this potential and they weren't winning these games. So the fact that they were 11-1, hosting a college football playoff team in Elko's second year, what do you think that says about the future?
Should bode really well. It's going to, I think, moving forward, depend a lot on who do you give your offense over to. What does that look like year to year? It's always going to be a question when you have a defensive-minded head coach, and it's not like, oh, you just have a scheme that's plugged in and you feel good about putting in this play caller. In the way that we talk about Josh Heupel or Lane Kiffin or even an Eli Drinkowitz, there is always going to be that question of what is this offense going to look like? And now with Colin Klein off to Kansas State, there are going to be questions about this moving forward. But you're right. I mean, the culture has totally changed. This is an A&M team that's winning games that I think last year they would have lost. And I think teams before that would have lost. And in year two, that's exactly what you could have hoped for. Being able to improve by multiple wins is just not a given. It's not a given in the SEC. And so that is legitimate progress, even if this season doesn't end up with a national championship. Getting to that first college football playoff in program history still matters. It carries a ton of weight. And so, obviously people are going to be interested in what this story ends up being for A&M this year, but everything is still in front of the Aggies, and that's something that they've never been able to say in this era of college football.
Talking to Connor O'Gara here on TexAgs Live. Connor, there's 5 SEC teams in this postseason, right? 2 from the Big Ten, yet the Big Ten's got the 2 top spots. Who's got the advantage?
I think it's a different question. If you're telling me who's got the advantage to flex in the semifinal or something like that, I'd say the SEC. If you're telling me who has the advantage to win a national championship, I think the Big Ten will have more cracks at the apple. I do. And I think Oregon will be part of that conversation.
Oh, sorry, 3. Yeah.
I really do. I had Oregon going to the national championship in the preseason, and that was with some questions about Dante Moore and his accuracy, and he's really, really improved that. Will Stein has done a whale of a job being able to develop him after he basically took a redshirt year last year to kind of reset. It was essentially the equivalent of like a college football gap year, almost like an old-fashioned transfer, the way that he did it, knowing that he was going to be sitting behind Dylan Gabriel. So I include Oregon in that conversation. They're going to be so good in the trenches. They need to be able to get healthy, obviously, but I think the Big Ten is set up well, and I do think that Ohio State could be vulnerable, but they're still probably going into this college football playoff with the best defense in America, and that's a nice thing to have in your back pocket. And I think the Big Ten probably has 2, maybe 3 contenders, whereas I think the SEC right now, it is maybe 1 to 2. And I think you could go back and forth with what that second contender is. Maybe that second contender is A&M. I think Georgia is definitely in that conversation. If you're not including Georgia in your national championship conversations, you just haven't been paying attention. But yeah, maybe it's going to end up being a wide open year. And it could be one of those years in which, hey, like 10-2, maybe a team that didn't play in the conference championship once again wins the national title.
Not to bring up a topic from last week's show, but just out of curiosity, do you care what happens to the bowl system, if anything changes at all? Do you want it to change at all?
I think it has to. And I wish the bowl system didn't have to change, because I think there is value in these games. But I also recognize that incentives, motivations, they've all changed. They really have. And we can't bury our head in the sand and pretend that this is the same college football that we had 10 years ago. There's more emphasis than ever on the college football playoff. There's so much incentive also for guys to be healthy for the NFL draft process and be able to make that money, and understanding what's at stake there. You're actually allowed to incentivize these things now with NIL and the way that it sets up. So, I do think that there is still going to be a motivation to have some sort of postseason, and not just so that, the teams that go 7-5 can get an extra couple of weeks of practice, but just because it's fun to see teams like this play on this stage and get to see some of these atypical matchups. Maybe that does mean moving the Bulls to the start of the season and just kind of rebranding it the way that kind of the NBA in-season tournaments doing it. College basketball is looking into that more now with the players era and what they're doing there, albeit with some tweaks. So I do think that we're shifting away from what we've known our entire lives with the bowl system, but it's kind of inevitable with the way that we've incentivized the sport, especially at the top.
Yeah, and do you think they should expand the playoffs in this world where maybe more bowl games are involved, and by the way, still do the start of the season?
I don't think we need to expand the playoff, but I've accepted that it's happening. I've accepted that 16 is still the most likely. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, and the Big Ten will somehow get its way and we'll go to 24. I would hate going to 24. I really would. I think that you can't. You're getting too greedy if you put that much change into the sport, and going all of a sudden from like 4 to 24 in that short of a period of time. I think there are too many changes, both intended and unintended, that would be consequences that would stem from that people that are sitting here trying to project how this would look can't even anticipate at this point. So I'd be really worried about that. I'd be okay staying at 12. And I understand having James Madison and Tulane in there are making some people go, well, we have to change the system. Or was it just the fact that we had an ACC crown a 5-loss champ? Is it just that got us to this point? Like, we don't have to change everything just based on 1 year. I know we did it last year, and it's proven to be a smart move by, the first round buys and all that stuff too. But yeah, I am not one of those people that say we need to keep expanding. I think that there are plenty of teams that didn't deserve to make it into the college football playoff, one of which very, very well in your neck of the woods, that you would have no problem not seeing play for a national championship.
Yeah, there's a part of me that wouldn't have minded them getting in and playing them again. I know that, seriously, like, I'd like to see that game played again. And they earned it. There's no doubt about that. They were the better team in the fourth quarter and the second half, no doubt. But I'd like to see that game played again and see how that could be different. What do you think about A&M in this Miami matchup and hopefully beyond, having Colin Klein and Jay Bateman kind of in their dual capacities?
Yeah, I tweeted about that last week, and I know Billy, very quickly corrected me and was like, "Hey, Jay Bateman hasn't necessarily been calling plays on the defensive side. That's been a Mike Elko deal." I definitely understand that. I think it's difficult when you have both coordinators that are moving on to other jobs, and it's not to say it's impossible, but right now you're trying to find the everything that you can have working in your favor. Some of that's injuries. Some of that's, has our quarterback been seeing the field well? Is he kind of figured out? And another thing is, what's your coordinator situation? A team like Oregon that I brought up before, having potentially national championship upside, they're dealing with that as well, to have both coordinators that have now taken power conference head coaching jobs. And it's a difficult thing to look at and realize you're juggling two jobs. John Summerall's tweeting like, I got 2 phones, I got 2 hours of sleep, and I got 2 jobs. That's difficult right now to prepare his team to be able to go into a place that he already lost 45-10 during the regular season. And it's not going to be easy, I think, for A&M to know that, 2 very important parts of that staff are now moving on to other jobs. And it's not to say that they're going to be, in what Lane Kiffin was for that 2016 Alabama team, and Mike Elko is going to wish those coordinators had both, moved on to their other jobs. Not to say it's going to play out like that. Some people know how to handle it better than others, but you're just looking for everything to be going in the same direction at this time of year. And if you're dealing with that, like what A&M is, it can hurt you in the game planning aspect. Maybe it won't be felt as much, during the game, and you'll be able to overcome that. But I just don't think it can be taken for granted. We'll play the results, obviously, with that. Like if A&M gets shelled by Miami, that'll be one of the things that people point to. But like when Alabama got killed by Clemson in the national championship in 2018, and all of those coaches had a foot out the door, Alabama fans very quickly after the fact were like, hey, this is what happens when you've got all those coaches that are moving on to other jobs. So just it's something to keep in mind, and it's something that, again, we'll play the results if it doesn't go A&M's way.
Well, and I think that's a wonderful way of explaining it. But I also think, isn't this the price of being good, right? Like, now Ohio State's dealing with the Brian Hartline. He's got, the dual roles. And so I think that's just – so how would you fix maybe some of this calendar stuff?
Yeah, it's a good question. And real quick, I do remember after Georgia won the national championship in 2021, and they finally get over the hump for the first time in 4 decades. And I remember walking behind Dan Lanning on the field at Lucas Oil and realizing, like, this guy's probably gone through a lot, and he's already accepted the Oregon job. And I give that guy so much credit. Like, you could see the emotion and just the relief on his face to know that, like, hey, he played a big part in this national championship and making history for Georgia. So it's not to say that it's all going to go poorly. Again, some people will handle that better than others. I don't know that there's an easy fix, because it's kind of a house of cards. Anytime you move one thing with this calendar, there are other things that are impacted. And you could say, just embrace the NFL model. This has become the NFL 2.0. Well, that gets into sticky things with the transfer portal and the way that this sets up. And like, kids don't want to be enrolling in, early March or late February or something like that with how this can wait. And athletic directors, they get antsy. They don't want to wait to hire their coach and, we can move the early signing period back to what it was before. I'd be okay with that. But man, I think some of this stuff is just going to be messy. It's just going to be awkward. I've been talking about this coaching carousel for a long time and talking about how there are going to be teams like this. And at this point, you kind of just got to hope that your head coach isn't leaving a team that's in the playoff or rumored for other jobs. And sure enough, very fitting that Lane Kiffin's going to be the first coach in college football history to be missing a playoff game because he accepted another job. And I just think that it's going to be messy any way that you kind of look at it. And I don't think there is a clean fix. So I'd love to be able to sit here and tell you, hey, move this and this and this. I think moving the early signing period back to what it was in February, that's about the only thing that I can truly say, yes, that's a move that needs to be made now. But the portal was moved to one period. Now it's just January 2nd through the 16th. Like, we're trying to do these things, but reality is there's so many disjointed pieces in college football that you're never going to make everyone happy.
Talking to Connor O'Gara here on TexAgs Live. Connor, what about the whole Michigan scandal and fiasco and just, there was the talk about maybe Kalen DeBoer, but that he's already, said that's not going to happen. Do you see some musical chairs in the SEC because of the Michigan job?
There could be. There definitely could be. What a mess, though. What a mess. If you're going into that situation, I don't think it's a given that you're going to have all the information if you're signing up for that job in a week. There's an internal relationship here that they're going to have people that are investigating that and what are the punishments that could come of a situation like that with Sharon Moore and the reason that it got to this place eventually. And if you're trying to figure out, am I leaving a power conference head coaching job for that? You got to know if you're going to have some punishments that are going to be facing you, because go ask Lane Kiffin what it's like to accept a job at a place like USC and then realize you're actually going to be punished a lot more severely than you initially thought. I think that they're probably going to still go after some of these big names. I think the coaching carousel could keep on spinning, but a note that I like to bring up with the SEC, and it's not to say that the SEC couldn't be impacted by this, but the SEC has not lost a head coach to another conference since James Franklin left Vanderbilt for Penn State at the end of the 2013 season. I mean, that's wild to think about. Hasn't happened technically in the college football playoff era, because in the SEC, as you know, you get extended or you get fired. You don't get poached. It's just not the way that it goes in this conference. So while Kalen DeBoer's name, obviously I understand kind of why his name was linked to it, Jimmy Sexton, and Eli Drinkowitz, another guy that's I think would make a lot of sense. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult to poach someone that has one of these SEC jobs.
So who do you think it could end up being then?
Brian Kelly.
Really?
Brian Kelly makes a lot of sense, man.
Okay.
I get it. Look, why would Michigan go all in to get a guy that was just paid $54 million to walk away? Conversations that we've had about Jimbo Fisher, like getting his next job. Why would you sign up to get that if a program was willing to pay $76 million for him to go away? I think with Brian Kelly, it's a little bit different. I think if you kind of understand like the way that he didn't fit in at LSU and what would make him fit in better at a place like Michigan that has a lot of parallels to Notre Dame, obviously his roots in that state, Grand Valley State coach all those years, someone that coach at Central Michigan as well and just understands the Midwest, it would make a ton of sense given where he's at. I don't know how financially motivated he's going to be to do that job, but you know what? We'll see. I think he would be, I think all things considered, if you're Michigan, that would be kind of a best case scenario. And that's even before getting into the Bryce Underwood stuff. I realized he wasn't Bryce Underwood's first and primary recruiter, but someone that clearly had a relationship with him when he was committed to LSU for a very, very long time before Michigan swooped in at the 11th hour and, gave him that 8-figure deal to be able to come to Ann Arbor. So yeah, Brian Kelly would be my prediction.
Connor, great stuff as always, man. Hope to see you soon, bud.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
See you. Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South on the Bucky's Catering Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back, read some text messages. Billy is probably en route to the offices as we speak. All right, we're talking about Guarantee Bank and Trust, established in 1913. They have over a century of experience in this market. They have a lot of experience here. They're one of the most respected community banks. Great staff over there as well. The market president in this area is Brandon Sears, who's an A&M alum. He's great. I'm going to meet up with him, not this week, next week, but they're probably serving Aggieland as your community bank, and being a community bank is so important. 33 locations across Texas. You've got from East Texas to DFW to Houston to Central Texas, and as I mentioned, right here in Bryan College Station. So whether you're in Texas or you just need some real local decisions handled quickly, go to Guarantee Bank and Trust. They're growing stronger for their communities as a part of their commitment to help out the Bryan College Station area thrive. And they support financial education, home ownership, local business, nonprofit efforts right here in this great community. And they're known for that exceptional relationship-based banking. So if you want to know your banker and want to be able to walk in and just have a real chit-chat with a person, not a situation, and not anything else, you go to Guaranty Bank and Trust. They are fantastic. 33 locations, one commitment, growing stronger together. Guaranty Bank and Trust, division of Glacier Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Breathe first. That was a pretty epic fourth set. I think it was like 47 minutes or something like that. But the message was that was maybe the highest level of volleyball I've ever seen in college volleyball. So we didn't need to change anything. We just needed to go do it again. We needed to take a breath and be big in big moments and be 1% better than them in that fifth set. And that's exactly what we did.
What a great soundbite talking about that fourth set to fifth set. It was fantastic. You're listening to the TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2, Billy is in the building. He walked in and walked out. Who knows? Anyway, 2 claps. Let's go. So I want to say this. So folks are saying Nuño unblocked Sandy from the YouTube. Sandman, excuse me. Sandy, Sandman, same thing. I haven't blocked him.
Yeah,
usually what I do is like, if somebody upsets me, I do like the 5-minute block or the 3-minute block, but I don't block him. Like, no, he's just busy with life.
Yeah, that's fake news.
Yeah, I'm not blocked. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some people that I wouldn't mind, putting the block on. But
totally agree.
No, not Sandman. Sandman's he's part of the YouTube family, and of course we have our premium chat that loves playing a part of the role on this show, and we appreciate them. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center and chit chat for a moment. What do we have, Mr. Schwartner?
So I had a text or a YouTube chat that I thought was interesting, talking about potentially Lagway being on the verge of being a bust. Obviously, it came out a couple minutes ago. He intends to enter the transfer portal. He has 2,264 total yards, 16 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. He's 132nd in the country in interceptions.
Well, let's talk about some places he could end up. Okay, Miami's going to come up often because that's what Miami has become, is this renegade. And I don't mean that as a shot, but they have become like, let's find our quarterback for the year and see what happens, right? Haven't they done it 3 straight years? Am I right about that? I feel like so. At least the last 2 years.
Tyler
right?
Van Dyke. I don't remember Tyler.
Well, Tyler Van Dyke, he was organically Miami. Yeah. Then he went to Wisconsin, then to SMU. But I digress. Cam Ward, obviously, and this year with Carson Beck. So Miami's going to come up a lot. And now that it looks like Lenore Sellers is staying at South Carolina, at least that's what the reports are saying, that they're getting closer to some kind of understanding. All right, so Lenore's was a name you heard a lot with Miami. So I think Miami's going to make sense. Okay, where else? Look at SMU as a possibility, right? I think SMU, a lot of folks with Kevin Jennings moving on. I think he's moving on, but I could see them going after him. Mm-hmm. Where else? Who is going to need a quarterback? Okay. Hello, LSU. Could we absolutely not see them going after him?
Potentially.
Yeah. I mean, I could see them making a call. But they might get the band back together from Ole Miss. They could do that.
I was thinking about a few years back when you remember Bo Nix at Auburn, how he really struggled in the SEC with turnovers and taking sacks, and then he kind of found a new life at Oregon. So I feel like out of conference is probably most likely for DJ Lagway. Yeah.
Look, it's a different coaching staff, and I don't know if they value what he does well. And he had a rough year. Right? The team had a rough year, right? He had a great relationship with Billy Napier. I think that'll be interesting. What else?
Had a talk about, actually, you brought up LSU and them needing a new quarterback, and people think that Sam Levitt makes a lot of sense for LSU. Had a YouTube comment that said,
Isn't he like 50?
Lane loves his pretty boys.
How old is Sam Levitt?
I think he has another year.
Does he have another year?
I think so. Let's see how old he is.
Sure. I think whoever Lane gets, I expect for them to throw for a lot of yards.
Sam Levitt's 20 years old.
20. God, it feels like he's been playing college football forever.
Started at Michigan State, transferred to Arizona State. Now plans to enter the portal again.
Oh, interesting.
He might have more than 1 year, actually, then.
Well, I do think that whoever Lane puts there is going to put up some really nice numbers, because that's what he's done everywhere he goes. Like Lane, that's one thing you can say about Lane Kiffin, is that it's going to go, their quarterbacks are going to look really good under his tutelage wherever he goes.
Yeah, you look at Trinidad Chambliss from this year, star quarterback from Division II Ferris State, and nobody's talking. I think because he didn't start this year, and he's just sitting back there in the passenger seat, and then he gets the start, and he becomes one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC.
Matt Corral, like you name it, whoever they've had there,
exactly
does great.
And
One more, and then we'll hit a break.
Yeah, a lot of some people were arguing about Michigan. Brian Kelly makes no sense. Brian Kelly makes a lot of sense. So
Brian Kelly isn't as bad. Look, I don't know if I would hire him, for the record. I don't want my kids playing for him. There's something that we're not the same kind of neighborhood, right? Elko's more my style of like coach. Like that's what I'd want my kids to play for. Not just because he's the A&M coach. That personality fits what I would want for my children. I don't know Brian Kelly. He might be salt of the earth. He isn't as bad as the way he is perceived right now. It wasn't a good fit, and we said that from the beginning. And that whole situation was a train wreck. A&M destroyed the perception of Brian Kelly. Because if you think about it, he actually was semi-successful. Not uber successful like the last previous coaches who won national championships, but like they did get to the SEC championship in year one. Then they got a Heisman Trophy winner in year two. Like they had, this year it went off the rails, right? But I don't think he was horrendous. I personally wouldn't give him a Michigan-level job. That's just not what I would do. If I'm Michigan, you don't want to do another Band-Aid because Sharon Moore was a Band-Aid. I think somebody like Drink makes a lot of sense. I don't know if Drink would take that job because there's too many questions happening at Michigan, but someone like Drink, Clark Lee makes sense. But as Connor said, SEC coaches don't typically leave for other conferences. So, who are some of the other names that we're hearing? Kenny Dillingham was a name that was mentioned.
Was a name. Yeah, I just think when you look back a little bit, Brian Kelly has his own series of scandals back at Notre Dame and before that with how he handled coaching changes and then the student at Notre Dame. And that's the last thing Michigan needs right now with their ongoing investigation.
Yeah, that's true. All right, we'll hit a break. I think we'll have Billy. Who's on the phone? I think we'll have him.
Perhaps.
When it comes to preserving your farm or your ranch's legacy, it's not just about capturing pretty pictures. It's about telling the story. I was having a conversation with my buddy Zeb the other day. I was telling him about Heritage Films. I was like, just imagine having your story or your dad's story told on the big screen. By the big screen, I'm talking about your 70-inch television at your house. But the ability to have your dad, your mom just being honored and telling their story, how they met your mom, how they, with my dad, moved to this country, how they started working, their education, the street that they grew up on, and all these stories that you've heard your whole life, but you don't know how to tell that story to your kids. Having it told in video form with pretty pictures and all the Facebook memories all comprised into this 2-hour documentary, right? And then for them to know that story and pass it on to their kids and their kids and their kids. That's what a Heritage Films does. It's about your heritage. It's about the genesis of your story. Check out the website, yourheritagefilm.com. Yourheritagefilm.com, or call them up, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. It is Heritage Films. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. Right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. And as a reminder, they are not open on Mondays. Good morning, Billy.
How are you?
I'm well.
David?
How about that volleyball game yesterday, buddy? All weekend, really, the Friday and the Sunday game.
Well, I think it was probably one of the more amazing for a team, an A&M's team. I don't know if I've seen a more incredible weekend of all my years of covering. You know, when you people, what's lost is how impressive a feat it was to beat Louisville.
Louisville, yeah.
To beat Louisville and to beat them, you know, down 0-2 and do the reverse sweep. So just the fact of how good Louisville is, first and foremost, to go win that one. But then the fact that you did it in that manner makes it even more improbable. And then to come back 2 days later and do what they did to Nebraska was, you know, probably it was the biggest upset in A&M sports history, I think. A&M at Bama in 2012, A&M Big 12 title game 98. I'll say obviously football is the most high profile. That was a very high profile volleyball match, probably as high profile as they get when it is on a Sunday afternoon with, you know, a Sunday afternoon on ABC national TV, and it involves the dynasty, actual college sports dynasty, which is, you know, Nebraska volleyball. And what many said was their best team ever all year. And I've been following this all season, you know, just the landscape. I said this before the season, you know, Jamie Morrison thought this team could go to a Final Four. He said that point blank to me prior to the season. He said, I think they're special. They could get to a Final Four. Probably the last team you'd want placed in front of you when you saw the bracket come out was Nebraska in Lincoln. You know, that's like the one hurdle that most teams would say, well, that's the insurmountable. That's the team you don't want to play. That's the last one you want to see in your bracket. There they are. I don't think that's how Jamie Morrison, his staff, and his players operate. And it showed on he said it before the game, and it showed during the game. So maybe A&M was the one team that Nebraska didn't want to see in their bracket, much less as a 3 seed. I mean, you could honestly look at that, and I think if you asked their coach, she would probably say, yeah, we were actually the ones that got the raw deal out of that exchange, because there's no way A&M probably should have been a 3 seed with the season they had. They had one rough weekend where they kind of went back to back up there in DFW. Yep. That's it. I mean, that was it. Their other losses were to what? Kentucky and Texas, who they also beat. So, I mean, Nebraska got a rough deal there. And the way A&M played, it was in the way the match unfolded. I mean, I've never gotten more texts. And outside of, you know, the big three, let's say football, basketball, and baseball, I've never gotten more texts during an A&M sporting event than I was yesterday from people from all over. From, you know, if I had like the age range and then like the times they were at A&M and the backgrounds and like what they were doing, people that weren't Aggies were texting. So what an awesome platform for Jamie, his players, the program for Texas A&M, and then to win. And not get that pat on the back and go, man, that was incredible. And not have to sit there and say, what an incredible effort. What guts, what fight. So proud of this team. But their season's over. To not have to do that and be able to say all of those things, and we'll see you next week in Kansas City at a Final Four, with a real chance to win a national title. And look at that scene. And by the way, you know, Pitt is another giant roadblock.
Yeah.
But it's like they said at the end of that match on TV, A&M built for this. The coaches, the players are. In 2025, Nuño, this is also why there is still a world, and I think even more advantageous, and hopefully we'll see this with football, when you have a ton of seniors that are back in the age of the portal where people are come and go, and you have a ton of people that come back and play, and that's how you win.
Mm-hmm.
You have, experience matters now more than I think it ever has, with so much, with these players being so transient. And so A&M went into the season with a real advantage, just like A&M football did. You go in with a real advantage, and there's a reason these seasons have gone the way they have, and part of it is that, and the other part is the terrific coaching and just the culture, and you look around the whole department.
Yep.
And I was thinking this yesterday when I saw a lot of coaches tweeting, after the match and stuff. But you think of like what Elko's doing with football, and Trisha Ford with softball in such a short period of time, and then you can go around the athletic department, or these ones that have established it, even prior. But what Trisha Ford did in her first 3 years, right? Was it her first three?
First 3, yeah.
What Jamie's done in his first 3, Elko in his first 2. You just start looking around. And then Chadwell, what he did very early, and there's others that, obviously Weaver. There's others that have been here longer, but I'm saying, like, when you hire the right
group.
people,
Yep.
with NIL and with the resources here and the support that they've got set up now, you can win very quickly at this place, and you can do it big. And there's a lot of sports where they're doing that right now.
Well, I also think if you just look at yesterday, what they did or over the weekend, seems kind of like the South Carolina game, that it had to go perfect. They won 6 of 7 matches down the stretch, including a knockout 4th set against Nebraska, against a 1 seed and a 2 seed. Like,
yeah, 6 out of 7. Crazy. And
your mic is on the jacket.
it took me so much effort to get that thing off, because for some reason y'all decided that today would be the day to make it 104 degrees in here.
We decided. We took a poll.
Hey, Josh, heat miser. Josh is up there, like, seriously, like the heat miser.
We could go in there and take it.
Oh, can you?
Yeah. We used to not have access to it.
Can we lower the... Can we...
Billy, I'm sorry.
You don't know how?
I don't.
It's just
we took a staff
thermostat, dude.
We took a staff poll, and we decided we wanted it to be this hot.
Okay. Are you going to cool it off? Okay, there you go.
Dang it.
Promotion, demotion.
Yeah.
I like him, but now he's fired. It sucks.
He's done.
What happened? Well, I didn't lower the heat one day. But thank you, Kay. No,
but okay.
That was absurd. So
to bring you back to what I said, 6 of 7, like they had to do the reverse sweep.
There you go.
He's over there.
Oh, doing that.
You say it.
The reverse sweep, and then nearly perfect against Nebraska.
When they were down, what was it, 10-3 in the first set? Nebraska's girls are like diving into the stands to make saves.
That's
and
crazy.
Going, man, they've got that. It was so, the energy in that place was so on fire. You're going, man, they might have walked into a buzzsaw, but no. And then they rip off 10 straight points, win that one. But that 4th set will go down in history. Probably one of the, I'd have to think it's one of the best sets you'll ever see. Was it 37-35 or 37-34?
37.
And how many set points for Nebraska? It was at least 10, if not a dozen. A&M with multiple match points in there, and just nobody would blink. And it was like no one even made a mistake. And then when they finally did, it was like Nebraska did.
Mistakes.
Yeah, then it was like service error,
Was
like
it
maybe
4 in a
3 in a
row?
row. Yeah, it was like, what are they doing now? But that was incredible. And here's the thing, man. And you guys, anybody that's watched sports, and I was talking to Early a few minutes ago and thinking, like saying, it's like in baseball, like if you blew a 6-run lead in the bottom of the 9th, 99 times out of 100, you're losing that game. It's just too the momentum. It's like South Carolina when A&M went up 31-30. There was 10 minutes left. It wasn't
over.
There were 10. It was almost a whole quarter left. But everyone in there knew A&M was going to win. The A&M players knew. I think South Carolina knew. Like, that deal, like, it's so hard to give that up. And then A&M really dominated that fifth set right up until the very end. And then Nebraska made a rally, and then again A&M held it off. But to bounce back and play so well and take immediate control in that fifth set, it just tells me one thing. It was like A&M was just better yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. Instead of break,
awesome.
Come back with a super short last segment of the 9 o'clock hour. Milliken Reserve Time, farm to table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got a wide open space, and they want to build a healthy community around nature. They're committed to treading lightly on the land that you can find Milliken Reserve on, creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community. When you go there, you'll see the 2,600 acres of open space, the farms, the 30 miles of trails, and all the greatness that happens outdoors. And they want to connect families to nature and to each other. And it's a place for families to cherish for generation after generation. It's a place that you can go and see all the resources, and a place to come together, to relax and reflect, to explore and discover. And they provide a natural setting for people to connect and come together. You can go hiking, biking, canoeing, you name it. You have it all there at Milliken Reserve. Check it out at millikenreserve.com. That website, again, is millikenreserve.com. We're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. You had an interesting conversation on Twitter with somebody?
No, I didn't have a conversation. I just saw it and I was laughing.
You hold your mic, maybe.
I saw it and was laughing. I was telling you the comment. My comment was biggest upset win in A&M sports history, and I'm congratulating Jamie and Aggie volleyball from yesterday. And this is Bill Peacock.
Bill, what's up, Bill?
Wild Bill Peacock, not to be confused with Wild Bill Hickok.
Yeah. I hate it when they killed him
He's a
off.
child of promise, a reformed lover of liberty, an advocate for free markets.
I agree with free markets. You too?
And he just says, it's volleyball, Billy. Need some perspective here. So I guess we should just, I wish I would have read that tweet sooner, because he's right. It would have made me aware of how silly and stupid I was being to talk about women's volleyball on this show and give the A&M volleyball team and the coaches or players any credit, because it's just volleyball.
Yeah.
I mean, God forbid we should take 5 minutes to talk about it, or 10, or a whole hour, or whatever we decide on our show. But yeah, Bill, my mistake was terrible for me. I need to get some perspective and understand the pecking order and how low volleyball apparently sits on it. Never mind the national TV audience yesterday and how much of the fan bases in sports world were talking about it. My bad.
Thanks, Peacock. We'll be back. We're back. And we're back. TexAgs Live. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We're just discussing headphone wear here on the program during the break. Let's hear from Jamie Morrison because, when was it? Kate sent me a text about it. It was in the preseason, right before the season. He was talking about why he thought this team could be a Final Four team. So let's take a listen to it.
I wouldn't have said this in the first 2 years that I was here, but like we have a chance of winning a national championship, but we have to go about it the right way over the next 7 months. And I get chills as I'm saying that. It's a cool thing. I can't wait for the fall to get here, but our girls have to work in the right way for us to get there.
Work in the right way to get there, and they're now
they
one
did.
of they did that, and they're one of the 4 best teams in the country, and hopefully they end up winning it all. Billy, any thoughts on what you saw with the Heisman?
No.
Did it go as you thought it would?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was decided until
the Big Ten.
The Big Ten. I said all along I thought it'd be decided championship weekend. But when I first started saying that, there was Ty Simpson was very much in the hunt. Gunnar Stockton appeared like he could potentially start moving, but he was coming from way behind. And Julian Sayin, who was a finalist, and Marcel Reed. So Marcel and Ty Simpson fell out of the race late there. Simpson more like over the course of time. Marcel kind of, I think, so much of it was going to hinge on that performance in Austin, whether he made it, to New York or not. And look, here's the moral of the story on Marcel's side. It was I think, 5 turnovers in your last 2 SEC games, and really that loss. I think he could have survived the turnovers if he would have had the big plays and the touchdowns and the wins, like he did. Let's say that second half against South Carolina had he led A&M. They cut it to 2017, and they got in a stop, gotten the ball back, went down and won that game 24-20 and finished undefeated. I think he's in there. I do. It was that close. So I know what the voting and stuff said, but they voted immediately after that game. Is pretty much when everyone voted. So made sense. Mendoza deserved it. He won it in the way he won it, and it's still. I know they had a great year last year, but it still like completes the turnaround for Indiana football, like the most remarkable. I say turnaround. That makes it sound like they got back to where they were. It's the most remarkable couple-year jump that we've seen in this sport, and for him to beat Ohio State and do it, taking that hit on that first play of the game or first snap for him, and coming out and coming back in and really just noticeably even though the stats weren't crazy in a 13-10 game, noticeably outplaying another Heisman finalist in Julian Sayin. So, yeah, he won it. I think it's probably one of the weaker 3 finalists. I mean, last year maybe as well, but it was just like, I don't know what's going on. But Johnny's year it wasn't like star-studded either. Now what he did measures up to anything anyone's done before or since. If you look at the single season stats and stuff, but I mean, I think Mendoza absolutely should have won it. It's a great story. He's a guy you love to root for. He'll be a great representative of that trophy. I was happy for him, for his family. It's just he's the guy. Out of that group, I would have loved to seen him or Jeremiah Love win it, just for kind of the way they carry themselves, plus the way they perform. And I think Sayin carries himself great, but I don't think I think he could win a Heisman later. Watching him this year, I didn't think that's one of the 3 best players in college football. I just didn't feel that way all year. And I know his numbers were great. And I know, look, A&M may get the opportunity to play him. You can watch how he's really damn good. And like I said, I think he'll compete to win one later, as in next year. But watching him all year versus like a Mendoza or a Jeremiah Love or even a Pavia, I felt like those were more dynamic, excellent, outstanding players in the sport this year. Pavia's antics, I could do without. And I've got a lower threshold, I think, or a higher threshold in terms of like what's going to bother me about how a late teens, early 20s, in Pavia's case, mid 20s, like person acts, because we've all been there and I've been around it and seen it for so long, either when I was living through it in college or after, or even to this day. So I have a higher threshold of where I go, I don't like that. And he exceeded it here recently.
Yeah.
The F the voters, the bottle service with F Indiana.
I hated that.
I just, it's just, it's unnecessary. And I know they issued like a AI or Chat GPT apology, which was pitiful. I just want to see him sit down and sincerely say, yeah, I realize how stupid he never will, because he doesn't, to me, he doesn't realize it and doesn't get it. It doesn't make me wish failure on him or anything like that.
It does change like my rooting interest, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and he had such a great year, and he did so much for that Vandy program. But, I just think he'll be one that he always talked, about Johnny this, Johnny that.
Johnny was class.
Johnny, his post Heisman speech was incredible, but he wants to make that comparison, and they're friends and everything. But the thing is like Johnny's still like memorable, and some people will always ask me like, how does he, and why does anyone want to care what John? Well, I don't know. I'm just telling you they do. I mean, the TV shows, the social media, all of it shows it. You can deny it if you want, if you just don't like Johnny and you want to see him fail or fade into obscurity. But it's not happening. It has not happened. And what are we now? We're 13 years removed.
Yeah.
I don't think Pavia has that same post Heisman run. So like all this fame and all, I just don't think he didn't win the Heisman, first of all, but I just think he doesn't have that legacy. So he can act like this now, and to me, that's how he's going to be remembered.
Hey, and they've already started listing next year's Heisman contenders. I think Arch was one. Julian
number
was
one, you mean?
I think he was one. No, I think he was one. Julian Sayin was two. And there's several other lists out there. I mean, I think I'm looking at the CBS one. But I don't think Marcel was in the top 7 or 8 that I saw.
That's dumb. I mean, again, here's a guy that was, and I'm not stumping that he should have been in New York. What's his hand raise about?
Oh, I found CBS's
Okay.
Heisman expectations.
Well, okay, save that because we're about to read it. I'm not stumping that he should have been in New York. I think if they'd have beat Texas, even if he'd have had 2 touchdowns, an interception, and 284 yards, and they won that game in the fourth quarter, I would say send him as the 4th guy. He would have been deserving over what he did for the entire season.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that there's not areas he needs to improve. That doesn't mean that, hey, his A-plus game, his A game will give A&M a chance to make some real noise in this playoff. If he doesn't have that, A&M, to me, would be a quick out. He needs to, like so much of what they do, and it's a lot on him, but he needs to play outstanding. We're watching him make throws here against South Carolina. It was not the only game where he did that. There's like 4 games, a third. I mean, Utah State, Samford. So like 4 out of the 9 games they played, he was pretty incredible.
Yep.
Notre Dame, Arkansas, South Carolina, LSU, just off the rip. Like, pretty incredible. I don't think he played well in one of them, Texas. I think in Missouri he was perfectly fine on the road, and just they executed the offense, and then he did it with his legs late to make sure they, kept Mizzou at bay. Florida played really well. What was it? Auburn was a tough one. Auburn, but again, that was a defensive stroke. So Auburn and Texas were, like, to me, like the only 2 games where he wasn't really good. And then, like I said, 4 of the 9 against real teams, he was, wow, like Heisman level performances. So Do I think he should have gone? No, you needed to get that last one as an individual and as a team, and they weren't able to do it. That was the one with the world watching. Well, guess what? You get more chances at it now.
Yeah, you do.
There's something a little more important than the Heisman, and you want to be at the top of that list, then go do what Arch Manning cannot do, which is go win a playoff game, go win 2 playoff games, go beat Julian Sand, who will be way up on that list, right? Go do that. If Marcel could catapult up these off-season lists and stuff, and as far as Arch, I think it's pretty ridiculous to not have learned and put him at 1. So for all these Texas fans that say, "Oh, it was the media, it wasn't us," we didn't put those expectations on him. The media did. It was unfair. Now they're holding it again. Y'all took the victory lap. It's like I told Amanda on the show. No, y'all all celebrated. Maybe not her individually. The fan base celebrated that number 1 ranking. You were going to go beat Ohio State. Laughable that the floor for that team was 10-2 in a playoff. That was the floor. Arch, Heisman, laugh, like, oh, he won't leave to be the number 1 pick this year because he's coming back, talking about him being a number 1 overall pick this year. Can we just tap the brakes and say, okay, the way he finished the season, let's put him in the conversation for next year. I think that is earned. I think before this year, none of it was earned. Now, if you look at the numbers, you look at the Texas finish, they won, what? Was it 6 out of 7 to close the season? Forget about that some of them were close, but they won 6 out of 7 to close the season. And the way he played, I think, at times was really good. At times, but he played well enough to me to deserve mention on a top 10 list for sure.
Well, it was Fox Sports. It wasn't CBS. CBS did have him, I think, correct?
So, CBS.
As long as you don't have him at 1. If you put him at 1, and these Texas fans are already doing this where they're comparing on Twitter like these mouthpieces to like Joe Burrow and Vince Young and the numbers. Like, stop showing me numbers. Just watch the guy play. And there's a lot of hope for him going into next year, and I'm fine with him being on the list. But can we not do the thing where we put him at number 1 and he's the first name that everyone talks about again? Because even with that said, he should not be. There are guys coming back that have done and shown more this year, including one that beat him and was in New York this weekend as a Heisman finalist. Please, sir.
Sorry, I was reading. What did you say?
No, he was the list.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, CBS does have both Marcel and it's Fox
Arch
Sports.
Manning, number 1. Julian Sand, number 2. Jeremiah Smith, number 3. Marcel Reed, number 4. Jaden Maiava, number 5.
Maiava would be really good next year. Like Maiava and Arch, proved it this year to say, okay, they should be on next year's list, as did Marcel. Those 3 guys are to me, the 3 that you push up into that category. Who else, beyond that, did they have anybody? I'm curious.
They just listed a couple other names like Ty Simpson, Gunnar Stockton.
Jeremiah Smith should be on there.
He is.
Oh,
Gunnar Stockton.
Sam Levitt, Ahmad
It would be
Hardy.
funny that the one guy you picked was whoever plays for Lane Kiffin will probably be on there.
Yeah.
Who will that be, Billy? Trinidad?
That would be my
Lagway?
guess. But I don't know if Lagway with Lane sounds dangerous, but it also is he willing to risk that in year 1 when you could get a big time? To me, what does Sam Levitt look like in Lane Kiffin's offense?
What about Bryce Underwood?
Or Bryce Underwood. That's the one everybody would be talking. So if you're Kiffin, I think the more natural fit is Bryce Underwood over a Lagway.
Yeah.
What's crazy is with all these new coaches and stuff, all these big-time quarterbacks, they're either all going to transfer into the SEC or stay within the SEC. It's so annoying. But A&M's bringing back a guy that's proven more than Underwood. He's proven more than Lagway. He's proven, he and Trinidad Chambliss are. See, Trinidad Chambliss should be on that list as well, along with guys like Arch and Marcel, who this year I think took a step into that category, right? So Chambliss is a guy that you got to give credit to, and another one that is, unlike Manning, quarterbacking his team into the playoffs.
Billy, what must? I want to phrase this. Actually,
And by the way, can I say something?
You can say whatever.
What a lot of the Texas fans will do is say, Arch, the numbers say this, but go through and say, how many like truly bad games did these players have? And again, with Marcel, felt like it's sitting at 1. And then some of these other, like say Arch, you go back to earlier in the season, there were several. You can think of Kentucky. You can think of like San Jose or UTEP or San Jose State or Ohio State. Oh, they're Florida. Oh, all those are early in the season. Yeah, but that's like 4 games plus Kentucky. It's like 5. I don't think he played bad against Georgia, but you lost by 25 points and you got outplayed by Gunnar Stockton. So that factors in. It's not just a numbers game, and that's where I think a guy like Trinidad Chambliss, like when he came off, had he started at the start of the season, people talked about him the whole offseason. He's probably in New York too.
Yeah, he would have been invited. Let's hit a break. We'll come back. I want to ask you what we can learn from Morrison for Elko here in year 2. So we'll talk about that on the other side. When insurance matters most, who's going to answer your call? That's the Rollo Insurance Group. They are fantastic. You get a personal agent's direct number, not a call center, not an automated system. And they are the official insurance provider of TexAgs Live. The difference is real. 60 offices in the great state of Texas. Their headquarters right here in College Station on Highway 6. Whether it's home, whether it's auto, whether it's business or ranch insurance, start a relationship with an expert who puts you first, who becomes familiar with your specific situation. And when you need advice or have a claim, you'll speak directly with someone who knows you by name. That's the Rollo difference. Call them up at 888-44-ROLLO. That number, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. The blueprint, not Jay-Z 2.0, but just the blueprint that we've seen from these. You talked earlier about these coaches that we have on staff. A lot of these younger, not younger necessarily in age, although sometimes they are, but just the newer coaches at A&M, and what we can learn from them for year 2 of Elko, what has been so far, right? So you look at what has been done with Jamie, what Trisha's been able to do. You mentioned a bunch of other ones, Garrett Chadwell, right? Like what that can mean, because this is year 2 of the Mike Elko regime.
Yeah.
And they are ahead of what anybody would have expected. 11-1 in the SEC, regardless of who you think they played, that is well ahead of what I think anyone was realistically thinking.
Yeah. And I've had to tell this to a lot of Aggies that I just almost had to like pull them out of the tank after the Texas game, which was it was beyond disappointing. My biggest disappointment with it is because A&M, I felt like just didn't play well enough. Like it wasn't the team we saw here. And again, like I always say, a lot of that had to do with how Texas played and the atmosphere and environment. But they just, you could tell it just wasn't. It wasn't it. Now you could also say that about South Carolina. So that is the concern as we enter these playoffs. I think that's why that break actually was great for A&M, because I think there are reasons behind that. And I think whether that was a buildup of confidence. And you lose, take your eye off the prize just a little bit, whether that was the physical grind of it, whether that was, just a peak. And then, now they had time to regroup and get it back, because I do think teams peak at different times of the year. But I think a lot of it was physical. I think they were getting banged up and slowed up in some areas, and the play wasn't, the last couple games, not just Austin. So I think they needed that break. But over the course of a season, to go 11-1 any year against any schedule, and again, like, miss me with that SHIT, because you go Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, like compare Miami, compare any of those schedules to what A&M played. It's asinine that we had that conversation as much as we did. And a lot of it had to do kind of like this Marcel can't throw thing with that one video from the summer versus the reality. It's this little graph with a line on it, and you see the standings each week. Everybody knows that anybody that has any common sense and really is not just an anti-SEC, we're going to find everything we can to shoot holes in it. When you look at their schedule versus the ones I just said, if you ask anyone that knows a damn thing about college football in its current state, coaches, players, ask Caleb Downs at Ohio State about it, ask coaches that have been in both leagues about it, and ask them honestly, not PR and Kurt Signetti in front of my you ask them and talk to them, which some of us actually do. Most of us don't. Some of us do. You ask those questions and it's not even remotely comparable. So with that said, to go 11-1 in any year, but much less in year 2, of course no one thought that. We didn't. Mm-hmm. We didn't pick them to go 11-1. Had I picked them to go 11-1, I would have been maroon-colored glasses, laughed off of social media. No one in the media picked them to go 11-1. People were going 8-4, 7-5 for this football team, and they're 11-1. How on God's green earth is that anything but an incredible success? Now, if you drop your last 2, then it's like it's a disappointing finish to it for sure. I would say it's still 11-2 with a playoff berth in year 2, and a playoff berth that none of you expected or predicted. 0. But I think if you win one game in this playoff and you cap, and we're all going to want to beat Ohio State in the worst way, and that could really, well, then you beat Ohio State, then you're really thinking of like, we're playing for a national title. But if you beat Miami on Saturday and you get to 12-1 and you've beaten Miami and you had this epic game at Kyle Field with all this anticipation, you beat the U and the Miami Hurricanes in the college football playoff when a lot of people are predicting you to lose, and you get to 12-1. To go 12-1, beat Miami, LSU, Florida, Auburn, Notre Dame, and your lone loss is on the road to Texas. So you play like these 6 national championship programs over the years, 5 of them kind of regulars over time. And then you get to play Ohio State New Year's Eve in the Cotton Bowl in the college football playoff. Greatest A&M season ever. Now, again, if you beat Miami, we're going into that trying to figure out what happens if A&M wins it. And I promise you by the time the game rolls around, we'll all think that there's a chance. But I'm just saying, if they just get one of these playoff games, if you're predicted to go 8-4 or 7-5, and you go
11-1,
12-2 with a playoff victory, how on God's green earth is it? Like it's an incredible year 2, and it's kind of similar to what Signetti would have done in year 2, but he
didn't win his.
They famously didn't play. They famously didn't play anyone last year, like to an extreme level. And then when they did, they got pounded by Ohio State, and then again by Notre Dame. So,
well, and Billy, back to the original question about what we can learn from Morrison for Elko. If you look at the path, they're kind of similar in the fact that Louisville is not Miami, but you're taking on a proud program like Miami. And then if you win, your consolation prize is to beat the team that was the number 1 team in the country for 97% of the year. Who did A&M volleyball just beat? The number 1 team in the country that was 33-0.
Yeah. And the difference is at least Ohio State's shown that they're beatable. Nebraska hadn't been allegedly unbeatable. So yeah, that's true. That would be something. And look, we've seen Texas A&M teams over the years. I feel like there is a pretty rich history of A&M doing things like that. Since I've been covering the Aggies, you see it. Not I wouldn't say regularly, but I feel like it happens more. It happened last year in basketball. They beat number 1, but this volleyball thing really stood out. And A&M over Kansas State in the Big 12 title game, beating number 1 Alabama not once but twice. You see these games over. I feel like over time we get them at A&M semi-regularly. These epic field storming, court storming victories, and these unexpected kind of shock whatever the sport is type wins. And so yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's doable. I want to come in again this week. Maybe midweek, maybe Wednesday, fit that in somewhere. We just need to talk a lot more about Miami in that game, like this specific game. I mean, it's the biggest game in A&M history, so I don't think it'll do it justice if we just do. You know what? I hate to break it to you. We may have to do a luchador.
Whatever.
This week.
Why are you saying it like, hate to break it to me? Like I'm going to be disappointed to do the job that I love to do.
Because I know you're busy, and I know it's going to add one more thing, but we're going to have to do it.
All right, let's do it right now.
The game is too big not to have like an standalone. You and I just talk about the matchup and the game on Saturday. We'll have the chaos of the final countdown on Friday. I'll have that hour with you before we have SEC Mike on. We need a clean hour plus to talk about this game because it's that big, and it's a real matchup. I mean, this seems like this is a level where these two teams could have been in an SEC championship game this year. Like I know Miami didn't even make the ACC championship game,
make it either.
But I think. Oh, but A&M wasn't in the ACC.
No, I'm just saying they didn't make the conference
championship. But I think that at Miami, like to me, that's a team that they beat Florida. They beat Notre Dame. They beat Florida. They beat Florida State all in like September. And I think those players, and this is bad coaching by Cristobal, but I think those players took their foot off the pedal and thought the season was done until the playoffs. I think they thought there was no one on that schedule that was going to get them excited from the time they beat Florida State and stomped them. They won by like 10, but they kicked their ass. Like it was a couple touchdown rally at the end by Florida State. But from that moment, I think they looked ahead and said, we can kind of cruise control it through everybody. And they got a couple times. So by solid teams, nothing special in Louisville and SMU, but well-coached teams that they got up, and Miami was not up, but they're going to be up on Saturday. And I think, like I said, had that team been in the SEC looking at a big G on the helmet or purple and gold or a Gator or an ATM or a couple of numbers in Alabama, I think that team, Longhorn, that team would get up for those games, and you'd see them more like you saw against Notre Dame and Florida.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with Bucky McMillan next on TexAgs Live. When it comes to your money and your peace of mind, it starts with the right team. That right team is Aggie-owned Paragon Financial Advisors, an independent fiduciary serving clients all across Texas. No commissions, no sales pitches, just trusted advice tailored to you. They have a team of over 18 professionals, including over 9 CFPs, a CFA, and a CPA, all on their staff, and their expertise runs deep. At Paragon, credentials matter, and so does your future. Visit paragon-adv.com or call them up 979-693-3907 to schedule your free consultation today. It is Paragon Financial Advisors, integrity, expertise, and trust. Paragon Financial Advisors. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We're about to go to the Bucky's Catering and Bartending Hotline and talk a little Aggie basketball, fresh off a 112 to 75 victory over Jacksonville. Texas A&M men's basketball coach Bucky McMillan joining the program. Bucky, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
How we doing, guys?
What's up, man?
Good. So let's just kind of look back and how satisfying that victory was against Jacksonville, especially recovering from that loss prior.
No, it was good, man. I thought our guys played well. That's what you can control the most, and you know, everybody holds their breath in those kind of games. We know that every year you look up someone in the SEC, you know, has a game versus a non-Power 5, and they're holding their breath late. I was glad we got up about 45 or whatever it was at one point, and were able to play a lot of our guys who don't get to play as much. So I thought we played well. I think we've actually, besides that last 40 seconds of the last game, have improved a great deal, and want to close this non-league off right before we head into SEC play.
Yeah, Bucky, we talked about this last week, and it's always harder to do, you know, a day after a loss like that. But there's you definitely watch this team, and I feel like if you're watching like as a fan or in the media and you don't see it improving, you're not really watching. Like, so to me yesterday, not just coming off a loss, but to go up by as many as y'all did, and how refreshing or positive is it for you to see them sustain that and not really lose that focus, you know, in a game? Look, at some point during that game, obviously the players have to realize that there's the gap that exists, right? And to continue to play the way I think that you want them to play, how satisfying was that for you in terms of, like, if you're going to learn some kind of lesson or not just have that be a scrimmage or throwaway, but have it be something that continues that pattern of improvement and growth? Did you see that yesterday in their performance?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think one thing we actually talked about with our team is you can't dial in for an entire game unless you do it all the time when you're on the floor, in practice and in the game. Like, even when you're up by 30 points in a game, or if you're down by 30, you got to treat that like it's the last minute of the game, and that's how you can execute at a high level when it matters in a tight game. You can't just turn that deal on and off. Like, the people who can really focus at a high level, they pretty much focus like that throughout with everything they do in their life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll notice that, like, a focused student is like a focused basketball player. You know, like, they're able to focus, and that's a learned habit. And so you can't turn that on and off. And those who don't focus all the time, those are the ones that in key moments they'll lose focus because that's just not their habit. And so that was kind of it's funny that you mentioned that, Luch, because that's what's the message to our team is that going into that game. We got to build that level so that we can execute at a high level late. We did versus Pitt late in the game, in that tight game. The last 40 seconds. We did a heck of a job at SMU in the last 10 minutes. We just lost in the last 40 seconds.
Yeah.
So we got to build on that and we'll remind ourselves of that last minute and hopefully help us win some games down the road.
And then the performance by Rylan Griffin last night, 19 points, 7 of 8 shooting, and 5 of 6 from 3. He just, man, you watch him play and you see how smooth he is out there and athletic, and then that shot, though, is a thing of beauty. And when feels like when he or Ruben get it going from the outside, it looks like it's going to go in from wherever, whenever they shoot it.
Yeah, he played great. You know, Rylan had the flu for like 9 days. It was wild. You know, he missed the Florida State game. He missed, he came back at Pitt, I believe, and but he wasn't himself for that game or the SMU game. He was just kind of getting back. And so last night looked more like him. He had energy, he had, you know, his stamina, and he played well. And you know, look, Rylan's played on a Final Four team and has played in this league before in the SEC. So I think he knows, hey, where this thing's headed here in a couple weeks, and we're going to need his best basketball when we get there.
Bucky, you've had to deal with an unusual start to your tenure at A&M with guys in and out of the lineup to start the season. You had Rylan's illness. Obviously, you had McKenzie had his issues. Pop had his. Like, just you haven't really had a full roster for extended period of time. How challenging has that been, and also how pleased are you with the transformation even through that?
It's been really challenging because, as we know, this team does not have a big margin for error. I mean, that's just what it is, with no returners, all the things we know about the timing of putting this team together. So I will say this, that, obviously our record would probably be a little bit better if we had everybody together the entire time, but our depth may not be as strong as it is right now, because a lot of these guys who may have not got some of these minutes in some of these crucial games got to play more. So long game, it could end up being a positive, but we're just going to have to really fight in league play to make up for maybe a loss or two that maybe we probably would have got if we had a whole roster. And if we do that, and we're able to make that happen, then the development of depth could be a real positive for our team.
With Bucky, with 2 games in 2 weeks, and playing way out of conference here, how important are these practices? I mean, it almost feels like you guys will have some, I guess, finals get in the way at some point. But I mean, is this an opportunity really for you guys to kind of dig back in and make sure that, in terms of like the teaching and the system thing and NC, you can keep that going right now?
Yeah, we're going to have some major jumps. We had a major jump this past week. The finals just got done, so they're going to get to. We'll start ramping it up here and start going 2-a-days with them, like skill in the morning and then practice later.
Yeah.
So I think every team I've coached around this time has really made a big jump heading into league play, and we're going to need to do the same thing.
What the league so far this year? What are your thoughts on the conference? I mean, there was such a high level of turnover, in a lot of ways, whether it's coaches but I think especially players and a lot of teams. What are you seeing from the SEC a month into this season?
So it's interesting. I was just with Garth Glisman, who's the SEC basketball guy. He's kind of the right-hand man up there to Sankey. And he was in town last night at our game. I ate with him last night. And he was saying that obviously we're still the number 1 league in the country by every analytical rating the SEC is. Mm-hmm. The top teams we're not as top heavy as last year.
Yeah.
You got some teams in the Big Ten that hey, they got some really good teams at the top, but the bottom teams aren't as good, and same with ACC, et cetera. But the depth of our league, there's a lot of parity in the league. So the top teams are good, not as good as last year, but we still got the most teams in the top 50. And it's kind of one of those deals where, you could see a lot of teams right there. You may only get 9 teams in this year. You may get 10 teams in this year. But of the teams, you may have 7 or 8 teams battling for that spot to get in.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's what's going to be, and what I mean is one of those last couple spots. Mm-hmm. So that's where the league is going to come down to who can play well in the league. And the great part about being in the SEC is that you have these quad 1 opportunities. And you have these games where if you can win in the league, and particularly win these home games, you put yourself in a great position to get to the NCAA tournament. And for us, in this season and based on everything, with our group and how we had to assemble it, look, if we could get here and just play so well at home, and our fans and everybody's rallied together, kind of with an underdog mindset a little bit. Like, you got to remember where we started. We started with nobody, and we're behind everybody putting a team together. We got a team together, and now we're a couple weeks away from. Let's take that underdog mindset. That doesn't mean we're going to be an underdog in every game. Let's have that mindset, and let's rally at home in Reed Arena. And let's try to knock off these home games one at a time. And if you do that, that just puts you in a great spot. And all these games are going to be close games. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're going to be close, tight games. And I just know with what we got, the passion of our fans, we can make Reed Arena such a difficult place for anybody to come in here and play. And that's going to give us the best chance for great success.
And speaking of great success, Bucky, your thoughts on what went down in Lincoln, Nebraska yesterday? I saw you tweeted about it, and I saw all the coaches throughout the athletic department just fired up for Jamie Morrison. What did you think of that performance? I know that was kind of leading somewhat up into y'all's game, so you probably didn't get to watch all of it. But the job that y'all's what do we call y'all? The suite mates over there in Reed Arena, fellow tenants, A&M volleyball.
I watched every second of it. I wasn't going to leave. I was going to show up late to our game. Yeah, we were in there watching. We were going nuts. It was unbelievable. I texted with Jamie a little bit late last night, and man, there's one thing to do something that hadn't been done before. That's obviously a big deal, but to do it where a lot of people, I'm not saying here in Aggie land, but maybe nationally, didn't think it was possible to go up there and win that game.
Yeah,
that's when you can change. That's even more special. Like there's inevitably you're going to do something that hadn't been done before. Like we're inevitably here at A&M is going to break through the door. We're going to get to a Final Four in basketball.
Yeah,
but the same deal here, and you could say the same with volleyball did. But to do it up there at Nebraska, where people didn't think they could lose at home, that inspires a belief within a program that doesn't just resonate with the volleyball program. That inspires a belief, and that's why sports stories are so great, and that's why people follow sports, is because in life, people are going to face obstacles that they don't think they can overcome. They think it's impossible, and people tell them they can't do it. And that's why sometimes they're so inspired watching stuff like what happened yesterday, because they say, well, dang, everyone said that team couldn't do that. And look at the grit, determination they had to do something that people didn't think was possible. And then whatever someone's going through in their life, they're like, that's an inspiration to them. And so that's an inspiration to obviously our program, but that's just an inspiration to so many people. And obviously not done yet, but that's a win that man, I'll never forget that. I know that, and I'm sure know Jamie. I don't know if Jamie got any sleep last night, but he's dang sure will never forget that either.
Bucky, we appreciate it, sir. Thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate it, boys.
Thanks, Bucky.
There you go. Bucky McMillan on the Bucky's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break.
The
We'll come
abrupt
back.
exit by David
Yeah,
Nuño.
because we're 4 minutes from the show ending.
Sorry, he had a lot to say about Jamie Morrison.
Yeah, you asked the question at 49.
Damn him.
No, Billy, you just don't understand timing.
I don't. That is the most accurate thing you will have said today.
Daily Company, a family-owned, licensed, insured business that offers HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and generator services available to you 247-365. On the HVAC side, they have the thermostat repairs, refrigerant leaks, the furnace failures, the seasonal tune-ups, plumbing, leak repairs, clogged drains, water heater installation, maintenance to keep those pipes in the top shape, and electrical wiring outlet and repairs for safety and efficiency. When it comes to the generator, they'll help prepare, get you ready for any time that there is a power outage. They serve College Station, Houston, and Austin. Upfront pricing with no surprises. Contact the Daily Company at 979-260-2020 or visit them online at godaily.com to experience the daily difference.
don't think I ever will.
We got about a minute and 10 seconds left in the program. Great time for a segment. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center and see if Caden Schwartner can read a text message to get Billy to answer in 30 seconds or less.
Okay.
Well, I just
40 seconds. Let's give him 40.
I read this to David a little bit earlier, but I thought it was interesting. Brian Kelly is winless in BCS, New Year's Six, and playoff games across his entire career, and obviously a candidate for the Michigan job.
Well, this is because Connor O'Gara thought he would be the right fit.
Yeah.
He wanted the Michigan job a few years ago, and I said that, and LSU people freaked out and wanted to attack me like people want to do. They want to attack.
Where's your mic? It is on, Kate.
Oh, I turned it off when I was having
there it goes.
I turned it off while I was having a sneezing fit earlier. No, Kelly wanted the Michigan job. I reported it I didn't even report, I just said it. LSU people melted down. Turned out I was right. And they confirmed it, their people. He wanted it. If you're Michigan, how in the hell do you sell that hire? That guy that by all accounts just kind of never really was committed to doing the work at LSU that it was going to take to win. And some would say he wasn't doing it down the stretch at Notre Dame either. I don't think Michigan can make that hire. I think Michigan needs to go and get Jed Fish, period.
Jamie Morrison tomorrow. Bye.